twin suns burned high over a red desert world called Ravkar, a planet where no human had ever gone before. The air shimmered like fire, and the wind carried the sound of moving sand. Somewhere between the dunes, a small figure walked slowly, a human in a dusty explorer suit. His name was Ethan Cross, a wanderer who followed mysteries no one dared to touch. Ethan had come from a far human colony after hearing strange signals that spoke of an ancient structure buried in the desert. For weeks, no ship had answered his calls and his supplies were running low, yet he didn't turn back. Something deep inside told him this was important. Walking beside him was an alien girl named Liara, her pale blue skin glowing faintly in the heat. She was from the desert tribes that lived near the old ruins. Her golden eyes watched the horizon carefully, as if expecting danger to appear from the sand itself. "You should not be here, human," Liara said quietly. "This desert is cursed. My people call it the place of no return." Ethan smiled, brushing the dust off his helmet. "Curses are just old stories, Liara. But stories always come from somewhere, don't they?" Liara frowned. "That pyramid is not just a story. It's alive." Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. She told him that long ago, before her people were even born, a massive pyramid had risen from beneath the sands. It glowed for days, then vanished again into the desert, swallowing those who went near it. Her clan had forbidden anyone to approach that area for generations. Ethan listened but didn't slow his steps. His scanner beeped again, showing strange energy spikes ahead. He looked at the screen. The readings were unlike anything he had seen. "This isn't natural," he said. "Someone built it, and it's still running." After another hour, they reached the top of a dune and both stopped. Below them lay a half-buried pyramid, black and smooth like glass, rising from the sand like a giant's tomb. The air around it buzzed faintly, and the ground vibrated softly as if the pyramid was breathing. Liara took a step back. "We shouldn't go closer. The air feels wrong." Ethan took a deep breath and began to walk down the slope. The pyramid reflected the sunlight like a mirror, and strange glowing symbols covered its sides. When he touched the surface, his gloves sparked with static. "It's warm," he whispered. "This thing's alive." Liara watched in fear. "Ethan, stop. You don't understand. My grandmother said those who touch the black stone never return." But Ethan was too fascinated. He walked around the pyramid trying to find an entrance. His scanner flickered and then shut off. His wrist light began flashing by itself. The hum in the air grew louder. He placed his hand against one glowing mark. It pulsed under his palm like a heartbeat. Then suddenly, everything went silent. The wind stopped. Even the sand froze. Ethan and Liara looked at each other, both holding their breath. A deep sound rumbled through the ground, like the world itself was waking up. The glowing symbols spread across the pyramid's surface like running fire. Liara fell to her knees, eyes wide with terror. "You woke it. You really woke it." Ethan stepped back as the sand began to move on its own, sliding away from the pyramid like water. The ground split open, revealing a massive stone door that had been hidden beneath the sand for centuries. He stared, amazed. "It's opening." Liara pulled his arm. "No, don't go inside. My people believe that is where the old gods sleep." But Ethan couldn't look away. The door was ancient, yet smooth and perfect, glowing with strange light. Warm air came out from inside, not hot like the desert, but calm and steady, like the breath of something alive. He raised his flashlight and looked into the dark tunnel beyond the door. It went deep down, far below the surface. The air inside shimmered blue. "Liara," he said quietly, "this isn't a tomb. It's a machine." She shook her head, trembling. "You don't understand. That machine once destroyed worlds." Ethan looked back at her, then at the glowing doorway. Curiosity burned in his eyes stronger than fear. "Then maybe," he said softly, "it's time humans understood why." He stepped closer. The moment his boot touched the first stone step, the entire pyramid trembled. The symbols flared bright blue, and the desert sky darkened as if the suns themselves dimmed. Liara screamed his name, reaching out. "Ethan!" But he didn't stop. The pyramid door closed behind him with a thunderous sound that echoed for miles. Liara stood frozen in the burning wind, watching as blue light spread under the sand, forming strange patterns that looked like stars. The desert fell silent again, except for a single whisper carried by the wind, a whisper in a language neither human nor alien had spoken in 1,000 years. It said, "The heir has returned." Inside the pyramid, the air felt heavy, thick with dust and the smell of metal that had slept for ages. Ethan's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing walls made of smooth black stone that shimmered faintly like glass. Strange lines and shapes glowed faint blue whenever he walked near them, as if reacting to his presence. He whispered, almost to himself, "This place, it's still alive." Behind him, Liara hesitated at the entrance. Her heart pounded, but she couldn't leave him alone. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The massive door closed behind her with a low, echoing rumble. The sound made her jump, and the pyramid fell into deep silence again. Only their footsteps echoed now. Ethan knelt to touch the floor. The patterns beneath his hand lit up, symbols shaped like stars, circles, and human figures holding spears of light. Liara watched with wide eyes. How is it responding to you?" she asked. "I don't know," Ethan replied softly. "Maybe it recognizes me." They moved deeper into the pyramid, following a narrow hallway that seemed endless. The air grew cooler, and the hum in the walls turned into a low vibration like a slow heartbeat. The deeper they went, the stronger it became. Liara's voice shook. "My people said this place was a grave for the old ones. They said they were tall and shining. Not like us." Ethan looked at the glowing symbols again. The carved figures did look human, tall, muscular, with the same 5 fingers and familiar faces. He felt a strange chill. "These aren't your people's ancestors," he said. "They're mine," Liara frowned. "Impossible. Humans came from the outer colonies, not here." "Then why does it respond to me?" Ethan said quietly. They reached a huge round door made of dark metal. It had no handle, no panel, just a flat surface with a single glowing circle in the center. Ethan reached out and the circle pulsed brighter. The door slid open silently, revealing a vast chamber filled with strange machines, pillars of light, and floating crystal shards slowly spinning in midair. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. "This must be the heart," Ethan said, stepping forward. His voice echoed off the walls. The moment he entered, the chamber lit up completely. Lights flashed across the ceiling, and energy flowed through the floor like rivers of light. Liara gasped, shielding her eyes. The crystals started to move faster, forming a ring around Ethan. He stood frozen, his heart racing. A deep mechanical voice spoke in a forgotten tongue. Echoing through every corner of the pyramid, Liara trembled. "It's speaking. I can understand only some of it. It says, 'Air detected, system awakening.'" Ethan looked around. "Air, what does that mean?" Before she could answer, the floor shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling as an ancient structure rose from the center of the room. A tall, metallic figure, almost 3 meters high with eyes like burning stars. It was a guardian. Liara screamed and grabbed Ethan's arm. The guardian's voice thundered, "Identify!" Ethan stammered, "I'm human." "Ethan Cross." The guardian paused. Then, the glowing symbols on its chest changed. Its tone softened, deep and powerful. "Human species confirmed. You awaken the first temple of builders." Liara stared at Ethan as if seeing him for the first time. "Builders? That's what ancient legends called the gods who made the stars." The guardian's eyes shifted to her. "The builders created your kind. You live because of them." Ethan took a slow breath. "If the builders were humans, that means we built this." The guardian nodded. "Yes, long before the fall. You are the blood of the founders." The ground shook again. Somewhere above them, a heavy explosion echoed, the sound of thunder rolling across the desert. Liara looked up, panic in her eyes. "Something's coming." The guardian turned toward the sound. "The Vorn have sensed the awakening. They come to destroy what remains." Ethan frowned. "Who are the Vorn?" "Enemies of the builders," the guardian said, its glowing eyes narrowing. "They ended the first age. They will end this world again. Unless you fulfill your purpose." Ethan's voice was low. "And what purpose is that?" "To protect what is left, and to finish what your ancestors began." Suddenly, beams of light shot from the walls, forming a floating holographic map of the galaxy. Thousands of bright points glowed, stars connected by golden lines. But one by one, those points faded, leaving only a few still burning. Liara whispered, "Those are the old human worlds." Ethan's throat went dry. "All gone. Except a few." The guardian's voice grew softer. "You are the last heir to awaken the builder's legacy. Their power now answers to you. The crystals stopped spinning and floated toward Ethan, hovering in front of him like fireflies. When he reached out, one crystal touched his hand and melted into his skin. Blue light ran up his arm like veins of energy. Liara gasped. "Ethan, your hand." He looked at it in awe. I can feel it. It's like it knows me." The Guardian spoke one final time. "The door has opened." The war begins again. Ethan and Liara exchanged a glance, both realizing something far greater had just begun. Something that would change the galaxy forever. The sound of thunder echoed through the deep halls of the pyramid. Dust fell from the ceiling and the glowing lights flickered like weak stars. Liara grabbed Ethan's arm as the vibrations grew stronger beneath their feet. "The Vorn!" The Guardian's metallic voice boomed. "They are coming." Ethan looked toward the ceiling, though there was nothing to see but stone and shadow. "They must have detected the energy signal when the pyramid reactivated," he said. "But why attack so fast?" The Guardian turned its shining eyes toward him. "They fear the Builder's return. You, human, are their greatest threat now." Ethan felt his pulse quicken. The blue light still pulsed faintly under his skin where the crystal had melted into him. It was warm, alive, almost like it had become part of him. He didn't fully understand it, but he could feel the pyramid reacting to his emotions. Liara took a step closer to the Guardian, her voice trembling. "You said, he is the heir of the Builders. What does that mean?" The Guardian's tone was calm but heavy with power. "Long ago, before the Vorn burned the stars, humans ruled the galaxy. The Builders created wonders, machines that shaped worlds and pyramids that connected all life. But greed divided them and the Vorn rose from their shadows. The Builders vanished, leaving only their temples buried in time." Ethan frowned. "And now I've woken one up." "Yes," the Guardian replied. "You have reactivated what was meant to sleep until the last human returned. You are the key that unlocks the legacy of the First Age." A low hum filled the chamber again. The floating crystals began to move, circling Ethan slowly. Each one left trails of blue light, creating patterns in the air, symbols, maps, and fragments of forgotten knowledge. Liara looked at him, her eyes wide. "It's reading you. It's showing your memories." Ethan blinked. Images flashed before him. Places he'd never been, stars he didn't know, humans standing beside alien allies, building great cities under silver skies. He saw battles, explosions, the fall of worlds, and a final command from a tall man wearing armor like crystal. "If we fall, let the next awaken to finish our work." Ethan gasped and stumbled back, clutching his head. The vision ended. Liara helped him steady himself. "Ethan, are you all right?" He nodded slowly. "I saw them. The Builders. They were us." The Guardian's voice deepened. "You now carry their knowledge, their strength, and their burden." Before Ethan could reply, a loud metallic roar echoed through the pyramid. The floor shook again, harder this time. A holographic image appeared in the air. A group of large, armored creatures flying through the desert storm outside. Their ships glowed red with energy weapons. Liara's face went pale. "That's them." "The Vorn!" The Guardian raised its massive arms and bright energy lines spread across the chamber walls. Then the defense systems must awaken once more. The ceiling above them opened, revealing a long shaft that reached the surface. Light streamed down from the desert sky, and through it Ethan could see dark ships circling like predators. The Guardian extended its hand toward Ethan. "Your DNA grants command access. Speak the code of your heart. The system will obey." Ethan blinked. "What? I don't know any code." "Trust your instincts," the Guardian said. "Your blood remembers." Ethan hesitated, then closed his eyes. The hum of the pyramid matched the rhythm of his heartbeat. He whispered the first words that came to him, words that didn't come from memory but from something deeper. "By the light of humankind," he said, "rise again." Instantly, the entire pyramid responded. The floor lit up in radiant blue. The walls opened to reveal massive cannons of pure energy hidden beneath the stone. Beams shot upward, piercing the clouds above. The Vorn ships screamed across the sky, their energy blasts colliding with the pyramid's shields. Liara covered her ears from the deafening noise. "Ethan, what did you do?" He looked at his glowing hand, still shining with blue energy. I just called it back to life." The Guardian stepped forward, raising one arm. Its body split into dozens of shining fragments that floated into the air, combining with the pyramid's light. It became part of the machine, part of the living fortress awakening around them. Defenses activated, the Guardian's voice echoed. The temple shall not fall. Outside, the desert shook as blue lightning tore through the sand. Foreign ships crashed in flames, but more arrived from the sky. The battle had begun. Liara turned to Ethan, fear and awe mixing in her eyes. You're controlling it. You're fighting them. Ethan shook his head. No, I'm not controlling it. It's guiding me. The Guardian's final words echoed before its voice faded into the energy flow. The builders left their power to protect life. Use it wisely, heir of Earth. Ethan looked at the ancient hologram of the galaxy once more. Some of the darkened stars had begun to glow faintly again, as if something far away had awakened in answer to the pyramid's light. Liara whispered, "What's happening?" Ethan stared at the glowing map, his voice steady but filled with wonder. The signal. It's spreading. We didn't just wake up this pyramid. We woke them all. The ground trembled once more, not from destruction this time, but from something rising beneath the sands across the horizon. Blue lights blinked to life, one after another, like ancient hearts beating after 1,000 years of silence. And as the storm raged above, Ethan realized this was only the beginning. The pyramid stopped shaking. The light inside dimmed, leaving a faint blue glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. The storm outside faded into silence. For a moment, only the sound of Ethan's breathing filled the chamber. He looked around, feeling the energy of the place sink into his skin. The Guardian's voice had gone quiet, but its presence still lingered, like a whisper inside his mind. Liara stood beside him, her eyes wide and uncertain. "What have we done?" she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He walked toward the center of the room, where a giant circular platform began to rise from the floor. Symbols appeared all around it, glowing in smooth patterns of gold and blue. It looked like a map, not of a city or a planet, but of stars. Liara gasped. "That's the galaxy." Ethan studied the glowing points. "And these are human colonies." The map shifted, zooming in and out on different regions of space. Some stars burned brightly while others faded and died. When Ethan touched one of the fading lights, it vanished completely, leaving behind only dust-like pixels that dissolved into the air. "What does it mean?" Liara asked. Ethan's voice was quiet. "It means we fell. Long ago." The Guardian's deep voice suddenly echoed through the chamber again, though the figure itself did not appear. The builders created the great chain of worlds. But the chain was broken. The Vorn came, bringing darkness. They erased the memory of the First Empire. Liara looked at Ethan. "So your kind once ruled this galaxy?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Looks like it. But if that's true, why did we forget?" "The builders buried their own history," the Guardian said. "They feared their knowledge would destroy what they built. You, heir of Earth, have opened the first door. Now you must decide whether the legacy will rise again or remain buried." Ethan took a step back. The pressure of what he'd awakened pressed down on him. "Legacy? I don't even understand what this thing is." Liara pointed toward the far wall, where more carvings began to glow. Massive figures of humans standing beside alien allies. They held staffs of energy, and at their feet were pyramids floating above worlds. "These are not just temples," she said softly. "They are machines. Energy machines. Maybe weapons." Ethan touched the nearest carving, and instantly the wall opened, revealing another hidden room. Inside was a floating crystal, larger than any they had seen before, shining with a bright white light. They stepped closer. The light reflected in their eyes, showing ancient human faces in its glow. Ethan could feel the hum in his bones. The crystal spoke without words, showing flashes of memory. He saw fleets of human ships flying through the stars, protecting smaller worlds. He saw a great council of builders, men and women with eyes of light debating peace and war. Then he saw destruction. Entire planets burned under Vorn weapons. The builders fought back and lost. Liara touched the edge of the crystal, tears in her eyes. They tried to save everyone.
"Even us." Ethan clenched his fists.
"And now, after all this time, they're gone, but we're still paying the price." The Guardian's voice returned. "Their spirit remains. Within every human, the seed of creation still burns. That is why the pyramid obeys you. It recognizes the blood that once commanded the stars." Suddenly, the map on the floor flared again. A red light blinked at the edge of the galaxy. Ethan leaned closer. "What's that?" Liara's voice shook. "It's moving." Toward us. The Guardian answered, its tone darker than before. That is the Vorn Armada. They have received the signal. They come to end the last of the Builder's light. Ethan turned sharply. How long until they get here? Not long. Days, perhaps less. Liara's fear turned into resolve. Then we fight. Ethan looked at her. Fight with what? She smiled faintly, pointing to the glowing symbols along the walls. With everything your ancestors left behind. The pyramid began to respond as if hearing her words. Sections of the walls folded away, revealing hidden chambers filled with strange devices, metallic orbs, floating drones, and weapons powered by the same blue energy flowing through the floor. Ethan stepped forward. This isn't just a ruin. It's a fortress. The Guardian's voice grew strong again. And you are its commander. Ethan took a deep breath. The weight of those words settled in his chest. He wasn't a soldier, just an explorer. But deep down he knew this was more than fate. The builders hadn't just built monuments. They had built warnings, and now the galaxy was waking again. Liara turned to him, her golden eyes burning with courage. Then we stand together, human. If your people built the stars, maybe this time, we'll keep them shining. Ethan smiled faintly. Then let's find out what else this pyramid can do. As they walked deeper into the hidden halls, ancient machines began to awaken one by one. The pyramid's light grew brighter, reaching far across the desert. A beacon seen from orbit, and far above. In the cold dark of space, enormous Vorn warships turned their path toward Ravkar, following that light like hungry predators. The war for the Builder's legacy had begun. Night fell over the desert of Ravkar. The twin suns disappeared beyond the dunes, leaving behind a strange electric glow in the sky. From the distance, a faint hum echoed, deep, steady, and growing stronger each minute. Ethan stood outside the pyramid with Liara beside him. The structure behind them glowed blue and silver like a living mountain of light. Ancient machines hummed quietly under the sand. Above, the stars flickered uneasily, and then, one by one, they vanished behind enormous shadows. Liara pointed upward, her voice trembling. They're here. Ethan followed her gaze. A fleet of colossal ships filled the sky, dark, curved, and pulsing red. Each one looked like a predator from a nightmare, and their engines roared like thunder. The Vorn Armada had arrived. The ground vibrated as beams of red energy shot down from the sky, striking the sand and exploding in massive clouds. Ethan covered his head as hot wind rushed past him. They're firing already, Liara shouted. Ethan looked toward the pyramid. Guardian, he yelled. Activate defenses. The pyramid answered at once. Its outer walls split open, revealing massive blue energy towers rising into the air. Rings of light formed around the structure as if a shield was being woven by invisible hands. The Guardian's voice echoed from within, powerful and calm. Defense system online. All human signatures prioritized. Ethan felt the familiar blue energy pulse through his veins again. It connected him to the pyramid, letting him sense every heartbeat of its power. Liara stared in awe. You're linked to it again, aren't you? He nodded. I can feel everything. The pyramid. It's waiting for my command. The first wave of Vorn ships descended lower, firing glowing red missiles. They crashed against the shield, exploding like fireworks. The barrier rippled but held strong. Ethan gritted his teeth. They're testing the shield. They'll find a weak spot soon. He ran toward a nearby control pillar that had risen from the sand. Symbols glowed on its surface, forming a console. His hand fit perfectly into its center, and the light around it brightened. Let's see what else you can do, he muttered. The pyramid responded instantly. Blue light spread from the base into the sand around them. Hidden panels opened, revealing sleek metallic drones shaped like spears with wings. They lifted into the air, glowing blue as they joined the sky battle. Liara watched, amazed. They're fighting back. Hundreds of drones swarmed upward, firing precise bolts of energy at the Vorn fleet. Red explosions filled the night sky as the first enemy ships fell burning toward the desert. But for every ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. They're endless, Liara said. Ethan stayed calm. Then we fight until they stop coming. The Guardian's voice spoke again. Human air, the pyramid cannot withstand a full bombardment. There is another way. Activate the inner core. Ethan frowned. What does that do? It unleashes the Builder's pulse, a wave that disables all enemy technology within range. But it will drain the temple completely. If you fail, it will sleep forever. Liara turned to Ethan. If you use it, we might win, but you might destroy the pyramid. Ethan hesitated. He looked up at the burning sky, his drones being torn apart, the Vorn ships growing closer. Then he looked at Liara, standing firm despite her fear. He took a deep breath. Guardian, prepare the pulse. Confirmed. Inside the pyramid, the floor split open, revealing a giant glowing sphere, the core of the structure. Energy streams began pouring into it. The desert around the pyramid started to glow, veins of light spreading for miles. Liara shielded her eyes. It's too bright. Ethan placed both hands on the console. His veins glowed brighter, connecting him directly to the core. The Guardian's voice surrounded him. You are the conduit. Focus your will. The pulse must pass through your spirit to reach its strength. Ethan closed his eyes, breathing slowly. He remembered the vision he'd seen, the builders fighting to protect life. He wasn't one of them, but their courage burned in him now. The Vorn fleet fired their final barrage. Red light filled the sky. Ethan shouted, "Now!" A blinding blue wave burst from the pyramid, spreading in all directions like a storm of light. It ripped through the air, sweeping across the desert and into the sky. Every Vorn ship it touched flickered, went dark, and fell, burning into the sand. When the light faded, silence filled the night. The stars returned. Liara slowly opened her eyes. The horizon glowed faintly with fallen ships burning like dying suns. She looked at Ethan, his hands still on the console, his body trembling, faint smoke rising from his armor. "Ethan," she whispered. "You did it." He turned toward her weakly, his blue glow fading. "Know when we did it?" The Guardian's voice returned, softer this time. The pulse succeeded, but the energy reserves are gone. The temple sleeps again, until it is needed once more. Ethan fell to his knees, breathing hard. Liara caught him before he collapsed completely. She looked around at the silent battlefield, the empty sky, the quiet pyramid that now stood dark and still. Then, from far above, a single red flare shot across the stars, a Vorn distress beacon. They were calling for reinforcements, Liara whispered. They'll be back. Ethan opened his eyes, faint light still glowing within them. Then we'll be ready. He looked toward the horizon, where faint blue lights blinked one after another, other pyramids waking beneath the sand, answering his call. The war for humanity's forgotten empire was only beginning. The desert of Ravkar was quiet again. The pyramid no longer shone like a beacon. Its great blue glow had faded into soft silver, like the last light of a dying star. Around it, the sand was littered with the remains of fallen Vorn ships. Their black metal husks smoked faintly, hissing as they cooled under the twin moons. Ethan knelt in the sand, exhausted. His armor was cracked, his hands still faintly glowing from the energy he had channeled. Each breath felt heavy. Liara sat beside him, wrapping a cloth around his wrist where the veins of blue light still pulsed softly. You shouldn't move yet, she said gently. That power almost killed you. Ethan smiled weakly. Feels like it did. She frowned but couldn't hide the small smile that followed. Still, you saved us. My people will tell this story for generations. Ethan looked up at the pyramid. If the Guardian was right, this isn't the end. It's just the start. The ground beneath them vibrated lightly, not from battle but from the hum of life returning to the temple. The Guardian's voice echoed softly from within the pyramid, deeper and calmer than before. The system is stabilizing. The air endures. The bond is complete. Liara glanced up. Air, it keeps calling you that. Why? Ethan didn't answer right away. He felt a strange pull, a whisper inside his mind that wasn't his own voice. He stood slowly, ignoring the ache in his body, and walked toward the glowing entrance. Liara followed close behind. Ethan, where are you going? To find out what I've become, he said. They entered the main hall again. The once bright symbols now glowed in soft patterns like veins of light running through the stone. In the center, the great crystal core flickered weakly, still alive but resting. The Guardian's voice returned, echoing from every surface. You, Ethan Cross, carry the genetic memory of the builders. Their final spark sleeps within your blood. When you touched the pyramid, you awakened that spark. Now you are both human. And something more. Ethan frowned. Something more? The builders were not gods, only humans who learned to shape creation itself. They left fragments of their knowledge hidden across the stars, waiting for one who could bear the weight. You are that one. Liara stepped forward, her eyes wide. So he's their descendant. Yes, said the Guardian. The last heir of a forgotten race that once built worlds. Ethan looked down at his hands. The faint light in his veins pulsed with his heartbeat. I can feel it. It's like the pyramid's alive inside me. I can sense every part of it. That is because the temple is now bound to you, said the Guardian. Your will shapes its strength. Your heart guides its purpose. Liara smiled faintly. Then the builder's light truly lives again. But the Guardian's tone darkened. Be warned, heir. The pulse you unleashed was seen across the galaxy. Other pyramids have awakened, yes. But not all worlds will welcome you. The Vorn will return, and this time they will not come alone. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we'll be ready. To be ready, the Guardian said, you must learn who you are. The walls shimmered. A beam of light enveloped Ethan, and suddenly he was standing in a vast void filled with floating stars. It wasn't the real world, it was a memory. Liara could only watch as his body glowed, his eyes turning bright blue. He saw visions, cities built in the sky, humans walking beside alien friends, building great temples across countless worlds. He saw war, betrayal, and the Vorn rising from the ashes. And then he saw one man, a leader wearing white armor, standing before a dying sun, saying, to the one who inherits our will, guard the living, not the throne. When the vision faded, Ethan collapsed, gasping. Liara rushed to him. What happened? He opened his eyes slowly, his voice soft. I saw them. The builders. They weren't just conquerors. They were protectors. They built these temples to defend life, not rule it. Liara's expression softened. Then that's your purpose now. Ethan looked at her and smiled faintly. Maybe it is. The Guardian's voice echoed one last time. Then rise, heir of Earth, the time for learning is over. The time for leading begins. The floor around them lit up again, showing hundreds of glowing dots across the galaxy, pyramids one after another reawakening. The signal had spread farther than even the Guardian expected. Liara stepped closer, her eyes reflecting the light. So many, all waking because of you. Ethan stared at the map. No, he said quietly. Because of us. Outside, the first morning light touched the desert dunes. The pyramid stood tall and silent, now more like a sleeping giant than a weapon. But deep within its heart, new energy pulsed, the echo of the builders reborn through one human. As the twin suns rose again, Ethan felt peace for the first time in days. But far above, hidden beyond the stars, enormous dark shapes were already moving. More fleets, more enemies, drawn by the light of the awakened air. Liara noticed his distant look. You sense them, don't you? He nodded slowly. Yes, the storm is coming, she smiled. Then we'll face it together. He turned to her, determination in his eyes. We'll do more than face it. We'll finish what the builders started. The wind carried their words into the rising sun as the pyramid hummed quietly behind them, waiting for the next command from its chosen human. The twin suns rose slowly over Ravkar, painting the desert gold. The pyramid stood silent again, calm and majestic. The battle scars of the Vorn invasion marked the sand, twisted metal, burned craters, and the broken remains of ships. But despite the destruction, the world felt alive. The wind carried warmth, not fear. Ethan stood on the top platform of the pyramid, looking over the endless dunes. The blue light in his veins had dimmed, though faint pulses still flickered beneath his skin. Liara climbed up beside him, her long cloak fluttering in the breeze. The others are awake, she said softly. I can see their signals on the horizon. The pyramids are answering you, Ethan nodded. I can feel them too. It's like they're all connected. Like a network. Liara tilted her head. Then what happens now? He didn't answer immediately. The pyramid beneath them suddenly hummed, a deep vibration that shook the sand. Symbols began glowing again along the base. The Guardian's voice echoed through the stone walls, deep and calm. Heir of Earth, the time has come to open the final chamber. Liara frowned. Final chamber? Ethan turned toward the voice. Show us. A section of the pyramid's floor began to move. Massive stone slabs shifted aside, revealing a spiral staircase that led down into the core. A faint white light glowed below. Ethan took a breath, then started down the steps. Liara followed close behind. The air grew cooler and denser the deeper they went. The walls shimmered faintly, reflecting moving symbols like flowing water. Finally, they reached a circular door unlike any they had seen before. It was made of translucent crystal, and inside it, faint shapes moved, like shadows waiting to be seen. The Guardian's voice whispered softer now. This door was sealed by the first builders. It opens only for their heir. Ethan stepped closer. The crystal reacted, lighting up beneath his hand. A low hum filled the hall, and the door slowly parted in two. Behind it was a vast chamber filled with white mist and light. At its center stood a giant pod, sleek, silver, and covered in the same glowing runes that had marked the pyramid's walls. Liara's breath caught in her throat. "What is that?" Ethan walked closer, his eyes wide. Inside the pod was a human, or something almost human, asleep in stasis. The figure looked young, peaceful, with faint light glowing under their skin. Liara whispered, "Another heir?" The Guardian spoke again, its voice carrying a quiet reverence. "This is the first one, the last of the true builders, the one who created the pyramids, who placed the codes in the stars, waiting for your kind to return." Ethan felt his heart pounding. "How long has this one been sleeping?" "For 20,000 years, said the Guardian. "The builders placed him here after the fall, to awaken only when their light was found again. You, human, have fulfilled that condition." Liara stepped closer to the pod. "Then you can wake him?" The Guardian hesitated. "It is not that simple. The builder's power was vast, too vast for one being to hold. If you awaken him now, his mind may collapse under what remains of the old memory. But if you do not, the knowledge of your ancestors will be lost forever." Ethan stared at the sleeping figure. He could feel the faint pulse of energy coming from it, like a heartbeat echoing his own. "He's still alive," he whispered. "I can feel it." Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Ethan, are you sure about this? You already carry the builder's light. Maybe that's enough." He shook his head slowly. "No, the galaxy's waking up. More Vorn will come. If the builders fought them before, they must have known how to win. That knowledge could save us all." He placed his palm on the pod. The moment he touched it, the room exploded with light. The ground shook as the pyramid itself seemed to awaken again. Symbols raced across the walls, glowing brighter and brighter. Liara shielded her eyes. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He gritted his teeth, trying to hold steady. "Opening the door they left locked for us." The Guardian's voice boomed through the chamber. "Energy surge detected. Warning, core overload approaching." Ethan shouted over the hum. "Transfer excess to me. I can handle it." "You are not ready!" But the decision was already made. The blue light from the pod surged through him, mixing with the energy already inside him. For a brief second, Ethan's entire body glowed like a living star. Then, silence. The light faded, and the pod's surface cracked open. Slowly, the figure inside opened its eyes, bright blue, the same as Ethan's. The ancient builder looked at him and spoke in a voice that was both human and eternal. "At last, one of us returns." Ethan stared, speechless. Liara took a step back, awe written on her face. The builder stepped out of the pod, placing a hand on Ethan's chest. "Our time has come again. Together we rebuild what was lost." Outside, the desert began to tremble once more. Across the horizon, hundreds of pyramids awakened in unison, their lights connecting like stars in a great web. The network of the builders had returned, and humanity's forgotten empire was alive again. Liara looked at Ethan, her voice soft with wonder. "You didn't just wake him, did you?" Ethan smiled faintly, the glow still in his eyes. "No," he said. "We woke up the future." As the suns rose higher, the camera pulled away, showing the endless desert alive with blue light, the ancient pyramids shining like new dawns. The builders had returned, and the universe would never be the same again.